The holidays are supposed to be all about joy and connection. But sometimes, when you see your aging parents in person for the first time in a while, it can spark this feeling of worry. So let's talk about how to turn that concern into a clear, actionable plan.
This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's that disconnect between the cheerful, everything's fine you hear on the phone and the reality you see in person. It's that quiet, unsettling feeling that something has changed and they might need more help than they're letting on.
And that feeling, that moment of realization, is so common that we're going to call it the holiday reality check. It's an experience that so many adult children share every single year. Seriously, the most important thing to remember right now is that if this feels familiar, you are so far from being alone. This is an incredibly common experience for families just about everywhere.
In fact, it's so common that the senior care industry actually has a name for it. They call it the January rush. That's the real term they use for the flood of calls they get right after the holidays, all from adult kids who just had that same reality check. It's a real, recognized phenomenon.
Okay, so you have that gut feeling that something's a bit off. But what exactly should you be looking for? This brings us to a really simple but honestly super powerful tool we're going to call the 3Fs framework. It can help you get a much clearer picture of what's going on.
The key here is to look for the small things, right? The subtle red flags that are so easy to overlook. Because it's rarely one big dramatic event. It's usually a collection of small signs that, when you put them all together, start to tell a story. So what are they?
Well, here's the framework experts recommend, and it's super easy to remember. The fridge, the feet, and the finances. I want you to think of these as 3 windows into your parents' real well-being. Let's break down each one.
First up, the fridge. When you're visiting, just take a casual look inside. Are you seeing food that's way past its expiration date? Or maybe the opposite, a fridge that's almost completely empty? Little details like multiples of the same item. Say you find 6 cartons of milk. That can be a sign of memory loss. And scorched pans? Whoa. That is a huge safety red flag that they might be forgetting the stove is on.
Okay, next up, the feet. This is all about mobility. Just watch how they get up from a chair. Do they need to rock back and forth to get some momentum? Notice if they're holding onto walls or furniture to get around. There's actually a term for that. It's called furniture surfing. And if you see any unexplained bruises, that could be a quiet sign of falls they aren't telling you about.
And finally, the finances. Now look, this isn't about snooping, it's just about being observant. Are there piles of unopened mail, especially with late notices sticking out? That can mean they're feeling totally overwhelmed. An influx of letters from charities you've never heard of could also be a red flag, as it might mean they're more vulnerable to scams.
All right, so you've made your observations using the 3Fs. Now comes what is probably the hardest part. How do you actually have the talk without it starting a huge fight?
Here is the absolute key. Your approach is everything. You aren't there to take over. You are there to be a partner, to collaborate on a solution. The goal is always to maintain their dignity and their sense of control.
Let's look at this in practice. The boss approach, Dad, you can't live alone anymore. It's confrontational. It's almost guaranteed to be met with resistance. But the partner approach changes the whole conversation. Hey, Dad, what if we got some help around the house so you could focus more on your hobbies? See? You're reframing help as a tool for more freedom, not less.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. You are not suggesting they're losing their independence. You are offering them liberation. Liberation from the chores and the worries that are getting in the way of them actually enjoying their life. It is such a powerful shift in perspective.
But you know what? Sometimes, even with the best approach in the world, the conversation is just really difficult. Or maybe you're just not sure what level of care is truly needed, and that's when it is absolutely time to bring in a neutral third-party expert.
And this is who you're looking for, an aging life care professional. Think of them as a guide for this journey. They can do a formal assessment, create a real care plan, and honestly, a lot of times parents are more willing to listen to a professional's recommendation than their own child's.
So, where do you find these professionals and other resources? Well, this is a great starting point. The Aging Life Care Association is really the gold standard for finding a certified care manager. And organizations like AARP and the Alzheimer's Association have fantastic guides and checklists to help you through this whole process.
We have covered a lot of ground, from spotting the signs to starting the conversation. So let's wrap all this up with one final and really crucial piece of advice. While it is so important to be observant,
Please, don't let your assessment mode take over the entire holiday visit. Just be present, enjoy the time together. You can always take notes privately on your phone or in a notebook later. The goal is to connect, not to conduct an inspection.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. At the end of the day, after all the worry and all the planning, your presence, your time, and your love, that is the greatest gift you can possibly give. Remember that above all else.